Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. In today's video, I'm going to go over what I feel are the top 10 4K disc releases of 2024. I can't believe it, we are at the end of another year. It has flown by. But in this past year, there have been some incredible 4K releases that came out on the formats. Way too many to mention in this video, but for this video, I will be going over what I feel are the top 10 4K releases of 2024. Now, I did a video based off of my top 10 4K catalog titles, which you can check out. That was released a few days ago, and also went over my list of most disappointed 4K releases of this past year. So for this one, I'm purely going off of releases that came out in the theater in the last year or so that directly went on to 4K, and what I feel are some of the strongest that we got from the various studios and labels. And of course, with this, it's going to be very, very subjective. It is my list. Yours will probably be very different, but I do, as always, encourage you to put in the comments section below, what were your top 10 4K releases of 2024? And for this top 10, it is not about the movie itself. All film is subjective. I'm purely going based off of the picture and audio and what I feel are the strongest contenders released on physical 4K in 2024. All right, let's start with my number 10. So to start things off, this is going to be a Lionsgate release, and I feel actually is an underrated movie, but if you choose to pick up the 4K, it's got a real decent picture and audio to it, and it has a lot of those good action scenes that make full use of that audio. I'm talking about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Now, Lionsgate, I feel, is one of the more underrated studios. They put out some really solid 4K discs. I would say they're in the top 3 out there. And for this particular film, I think it came across well on the 4K formats. There are a lot of great action scenes. It's crisp. It looks fantastic. And the Dolby Atmos, when things start going haywire for our heroes, or anti-heroes as it were, it really sounds good. It's very multi-directional. There's a lot happening. I think it's an overall a well-rounded and one of the best of the year. So yes, check this one out on 4K. If you haven't had a chance, I think it personally is worth a blind buy. And if you do so, it's going to be a great 4K experience. My number 9 is from a studio that typically doesn't make the top 10 lists, really. But since their partnership with Sony and releasing discs on 4K, I think more or less they've turned things around. So for my number 9, that is going to go to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think visually this is a gorgeous looking picture. I was very impressed. You have all that nature and the lushness of the green, which really gives you a nice visual pop. It really looks fantastic. I have no complaints. It's really a beautiful looking picture. And the Atmos on this one is also well done. I think we can say goodbye to the Atmos days. Those are, I think, a thing of the past now that they're partnered with Sony. And it's when action kicks in and you get a lot of that dynamic effects and the ambience of the overgrown world. I think it really sounds excellent. It's a really well done disc. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to see a lot more from Disney/Sony on 4K in the future. And if it's anything like this, I think we're in good hands. And number 8 is one that I expected to be a little higher on the list. The first 2 movies certainly were, but I think it still definitely deserves to be on the top 10 of the year. A Quiet Place Day 1 on 4K from Paramount. I love this audio mix. I think it is really one of the best on this list. And if this was purely an audio list, this would be a lot higher. But I think slight softness of the picture doesn't look as sharp or as good as the first 2 movies do on 4K. But don't be deterred. It still looks really very good. It's just not quite as pop-worthy, as it were, for the picture. But the audio on this is incredible. If you're an audiophile, you're really going to enjoy this one. There is a lot happening at any given moment. If you got an Atmos setup, a lot of top action, really sounds good up there. It's well done. Once again, easily one of the best audio mixes of the year, no question about it. But yeah, a Quiet Place Day 1 on 4K, it is my number 8. In years past, actually in fairly recent years, my number 7 would be a lot higher, if not my number 1. But that just goes to show you how much the competition has ramped up. Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire on 4K, is a fantastic 4K release from 2024. I think this is a well done audio mix. Of course, the Atmos is a banger. A lot to enjoy with that. Kong, Godzilla, anything kaiju related, it really is going to shake your room somewhat effectively. And there's a lot of dynamic audio activity. I feel the picture is also really good, but it's not quite as good as I would say Godzilla vs. Kong released a few years ago. It's just a little bit softer. It's not as visually punchy, but it's still a really good looking image. No complaints whatsoever. Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. If you're a fan of these films, the 4K is certainly the way to go and easily in my top 10 of the year. My number 6 is another Disney/Sony release, Deadpool and Wolverine. I am once again very impressed with this pairing of the two studios and putting out 4Ks, because this one, it definitely delivers. Another HDR Dolby Vision title, but to be fair, it's used very subtly. It's not heavy-handed, but I think that just speaks to the natural palette in itself, because I don't feel it really needed a huge Dolby Vision presence, but it looks great. Colors are fantastic. The red of Deadpool's suit, the yellow and blue of Wolverine's costume, and everything in between looks great. It's clear. Image clarity is fantastic. I am very impressed. And the Dolby Atmos, once again, no nerfed Dolby Atmos here. I am very happy with it. Fun audio cues, dynamic, entertaining, and it's also got some heaviness to it. So yes, Deadpool and Wolverine on 4K from Disney/Sony certainly deserves to be on this list, and hopefully it is on yours as well. You couldn't have a year-end top 10 4K list without at least one Sony release, because in my opinion, they are one of the best major studios to put out 4K content. So for this entry, my number 5 is Bad Boys Ride or Die. Very entertaining film aside, but the audio and the picture on this one is nearly perfect. This is a gorgeous looking 4K presentation. You get the colors of Southern Florida. They make really good use of those sunsets and neon lighting and Miami nightlife. Looks beautiful. That HDR and Dolby Vision's working overtime there. And not to be outdone, the Dolby Atmos. Awesome stuff. Action scenes. I mean, stuff is just literally raining on top of you. A lot to enjoy here if you have an Atmos setup. Very heavy-handed. Everything sounds great on this disc. I could not recommend this highly enough. It is a fantastic 4K. Sony, once again, does a great job. So yes, Bad Boys Ride or Die on 4K is my number 5 pick. My number 4 happens to be one of my favorite movies from this past year or so, and thankfully the 4K certainly lived up to expectations. Godzilla -1 on 4K. It took a while to get here, but it was well worth the wait. It is easily one of my favorite 4K discs of 2024. What can I say? Visually, gorgeous. Gorgeous looking picture. When Godzilla just unleashes his stuff, that atomic breath just pops off the screen. And just the normal palette in general looks really good. Full HDR and Dolby Vision support. But you don't go to a Godzilla movie for the picture necessarily. You go for the audio, and wow, I mean, chef's kiss. This is a huge Atmos track, just as big as the guy himself, because there's a lot to enjoy here. Whenever he's on screen, you're going to feel it the next day. It is that good. A lot of fun audio cues. The roar of Godzilla himself, just, wow, it's deafening. You get that home theater volume turned up, you're waking the neighbors a couple houses over, because it's that good. I am just thrilled with the 4K of this one. I highly recommend the film by itself, but if you're going to go for it, get the 4K. It's well worth it. It's an awesome, awesome 4K disc. Sitting at the number 3 spot could have easily been a number 1 in years past. In fact, your first film was number 1 in that particular year on 4K. Dune Part 2 is my number 3 of 2024. Now, once again, this speaks to how highly the competition is for these 4K discs this year. And I do have to say that while I feel, and I still maintain that Dune, the original, is a demo worthy from start to finish, the second one is just slightly behind it, mostly due to the audio. Don't get me wrong, it's still a crazy audio track. I think it's well worth listening to. It's awesome. But once again, my number one, my number two, I felt were just a little bit stronger in that area. But the picture on this is gorgeous. It is a stunning looking presentation. HDR, Dolby Vision, all the works there. It looks fantastic. The whole planet of Arrakis, I love it. I think it just looks excellent on 4K, and especially that sequence on the Harkonnen's homeworld also is a real visual. It's visually pleasing. I enjoy it. And the audio, it is an excellent audio track. I would not fault it in any way, shape, or form for anybody to put this on their number one list at all. And it's really a great experience. If you have an Atmos setup, I think you're really going to enjoy it. So Dune Part 2 is my number 3 and well worth picking up. My number 2 is another Lionsgate release, and I maintain they are the dark horse of the studios, but really they put out some of the best. And for this pick, Civil War from A24, released by Lionsgate on 4K, in my opinion, is easily one of the best of 2024's 4K releases. I think this is a simply gorgeous looking picture. Full HDR Dolby Vision here. Looks excellent. You get some really great visuals here. Oh, I think it's clear. Image clarity is just awesome. And the colors give you a nice natural pop. And it just looks gorgeous. And then, of course, you have, in my opinion, one of the best audio mixes of the year, the Dolby Atmos. It's a room shaker. It really is. This sounds like a beast. There is a lot to enjoy about this Atmos track. I know the film has divisive opinions about it, but once again, we're not talking about the film, but the audio and visual on this disc are top tier. They really are easily one of the best. I just am very impressed with it. So if you've never seen it, do yourself a favor, check out the 4K edition of Civil War, because you're going to get a great presentation both in the picture and the audio. It's top shelf stuff. And before I get to my number 1, just a couple of quick honorable mentions I want to talk about. Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. I think this is a simply gorgeous looking 4K picture. The audio is also really well done. Nice Dolby Atmos track. It's more of kind of an environmental mix because it does take place in the Old West, but I think the audio cues are spot on. It's a very clean looking picture. I am very impressed with it. I can't wait to see the other films that are supposedly coming down the line. I think they should all have an equally impressive picture and audio. Perfect Days from the Criterion Collection. This is a movie, in my opinion, has one of the best looking image or picture quality of any of the discs of 2024. This is a stunning looking picture. The audio is only a 5.1. It's a very quiet type of movie. It's not, there's no chase scenes or anything like that. It's a very introspective type of film. But visually, easily one of the best of 2024. And it's also a really well done movie. I highly recommend you check that out. And finally, Alien Romulus, another Sony/Disney 4K release. Whatever you may think of the film itself, I particularly am not a huge fan of it, but the picture is also really well done, very atmospheric. HDR and Dolby Vision give you that little boost to the palette. I think it looks good. And the audio, equally impressive. I think this is a well done 4K disc, and I think all three of these deserve an honorable mention for 2024. And this is it, the number 1, the top of the list of what I feel is the best 4K disc released in 2024. You may have guessed it, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Wow. To me, this is the definitive 4K disc of the year. Visually, it's perfect. I think it is a simply awesome looking picture. I mean, I have no complaints whatsoever. Colors are very bold and natural at the same time. And I just think this is a stunning looking picture. I am very impressed with it. But really, the Dolby Atmos is, in my opinion, easily just top tier of the last 5 years as far as audio experiences go. I think this is probably going to be one of those movies that people reference down the line as far as great Atmos tracks. It is so cool. It's awesome. It's thunderous. When things happen, you're going to feel it because it's that impactful. It is, in my opinion, one of the best releases of the year. I am a huge fan of the film, and I think George Miller and his sound design crew, as well as who was handling the picture on this, did an excellent job. Who knows? Maybe we'll see another Mad Max type of film down the line, and then we can add that to the future list of top 10 movies on 4K. But for here and now, in 2024, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is the best 4K disc of the year. So there it is, my top 10 best 4K discs of 2024. This has been an incredible year for the 4K formats. It's only going to get better from here. 2025 is shaping up to be an incredible year as well. I cannot wait to see what's in store for us. And as always, stay tuned to the channel. I bring you all the reviews. I give you all these lists and videos all year round. I'm just a huge fan of the format, and I think that going forward, we are expecting even more greatness. So now it's your turn in the comments. What were your top 10 4K releases of 2024? Sound off down below. And if you're interested in any of the titles I talked about in my top 10, I will leave direct Amazon links in the comments section. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.